Welcome to Nimble Minds, talks of self and spirituality, where I talk about different philosophical perspectives as well as spiritual practices. And I just talk about topics I find interesting and I believe can just bring a different insight and make you ask different questions, as well as make myself ask different questions. So, the last video I previously did was titled Perspectives on the Institution of Marriage. Okay, so this video is going to be stemming from that, and it was going to be more so just recovering or just covering and recovering, like going back over marriage, relationships, and just once again my opinion on those, and especially when it has to do with lust. This video is going to be a big focus on that, as overall on this channel, temptations, right, and having that self-control so you can feed your spirit and your soul is a big focus on this channel. Okay, so with that being said, let's get right into the video. So you have to have your lust in control, okay? Whoever's watching, whoever is listening, okay? You have to have your lust in control, because if you don't have your lust in control, the lust is going to have control over you. What does that mean, Nimble Minds? Great question. For example, spilling your seed, that's a big thing, okay? There's times, right, you're gonna have urges, okay? You're gonna want to lust, you're gonna want to watch porn, you're gonna want to go sleep around, you're gonna want to go, sleep with this woman, sleep with this woman. But that's when you have to have self-control, okay? That's when you have to be like, no, I have self-control, because I understand I have a goal. So I'm not going to go out here and spill my seed, okay? I'm not going to go out here and sling dilly willy-nilly. I'm going to say that again. I'm not going to be out here slinging dilly willy-nilly, okay? So you're going to have self-control and be able to maintain your seed, okay? Hold on to your seed, that vital energy, that vital life force, and not just be giving that out freely, not just be giving that out without having any type of care behind it, okay? Because what can that lead to, okay? In the previous video, perspectives on the institution of marriage, I already talked about how marriage is an institution, okay? Marriage is really not about love, okay? A lot of people marry for circumstantial reasons. A lot of people marry for personal reasons, personal gain, okay? So if you understand that, and then you don't have your lust under control, you're going to end up getting yourself into a situation, okay, that's going to end up taking its toll, okay? So if you understand that, okay, and you understand you have to have self-control, you might be able to prevent yourself from getting into a situation that's going to take a toll on you, okay? What do I mean? Well, we understand marriage is an institution, okay? A lot of people are going to fall for the trap. A lot of people are going to end up just getting married and just, sleeping around and doing these things and spilling their seed, right? Without being aware, having any self-control of actually what they're doing. And then what's going to happen? They're going to be in a marriage that they're unhappy with, okay? Now they're taking out all their issues on everybody else but themselves, because they weren't able to have self-control, okay? Now they're going to end up in a situation where they may be with a woman, okay, that they now have to deal with drama with, because they are out here sleeping with the wrong woman. Or even it could be another situation where they had the right woman, because that could be another situation that might be more real for some people. Maybe there's men out there that had the right woman, there's men out there that had the right girl on their shoulder, the right woman by their side, right? And then they were out here sleeping around, they were out here lusting, and they fumbled that. There's people out here that really fumbled that, and now they can't go back. There's people that fumbled that and now they can't go back, okay? That's how it is for some people, okay? And then we're going to talk about the women as well. We're going to talk about the women as well, because yes, the men need to be held accountable. Men out here, you need to get up and not be out here slinging dilly willy-nilly. I'm going to say that again. Men out here, guys, you need to get up and not be out here slinging dilly willy-nilly, okay? But that's the men. Now let's get to the women, okay? Because it's both people, okay? Everybody has a conscience. Everybody has a mind that understands right from wrong, okay? Even if they choose to give into their temptations and their desires, okay? And they choose to just, give into the lust, which is going to subtract into their plus, okay? Even if people choose to give into lust, which is going to subtract from their plus, okay? Everybody has a conscience, okay? So the women out here too. There's women out here. I'm gonna say this again. There's women out here. I'm gonna say it again. There's women out here that are out here giving into their lust, okay? So they're fumbling good men. There's women out here that they have what they need. They have exactly what they need with them, but they don't have self-control. They have everything they need but self-control. So now they're out here, right, putting on the line probably one of the best men they'll ever have in their life, okay? And I'm not just talking about financially, okay? Because once again, marriage is an institution. And let's be honest here, there's more things to offer in a relationship other than just finances, okay? Even though that's a part, right, for women. Deep down, women like other things. Deep down, women like to feel things. Deep down, women like emotional play. Deep down, women like people that are actually going to be there, men that are actually going to be there, okay? And it's bigger than just money, okay? That's just the play right there. The money's just the play, but women like other things. So What I'm trying to tell you is women are going to find a man that's giving them all that. Women are going to find a man that, he has money, but that's not the big thing. Women are going to be with men that are, actually honest with them, okay, are saying the right things to them, okay, are doing what they need to do, and maybe in the bedroom as well, okay, that are actually everything and more. But the women can't control their lust. The women are out here being played, thinking that there's more on the other side, right? So now they're fumbling good men. Now there's women out here that are fumbling good men, and guess what? The women out here that are fumbling good men, you can't go back, all right, after you fumble that good man and think he's obligated to take you back because you made a mistake, okay? You can't go out here and fumble a good man for the women out there and think he's obligated to take you back because you made a mistake, okay? And that goes for the men as well. That goes for the men as well. If you fumble a good woman, she does not have to be with you ever again because you made that mistake, okay? What could it happen? Could it work out? Hey, once again, I'm a person that likes to hold out hope. And when I say that, I like to see the best in situations. So there's potentially they could be back together. But the reality is it's just not going to be the same, okay? Because you had an opportunity there. And instead of making that change, you decided to rearrange your goals. Instead, you decided to rearrange your lust and put it somewhere else. And now you're subtracting from your plus, okay? So for the women out there too, y'all need to have some self-control as well over your faculties and not just have that coochie on a string swinging that thing around, okay? And not just have that coochie on a string swinging that thing, okay? Women, you need to not have that coochie on a string and be out here swinging that thing, okay? I'm gonna bring this up again. We talk about the Google Fiber connection, okay? We talk about the internet connection, which is just synonymous to that connection to the spirit and the soul. And you already know, if you're out here sleeping around, you're disrupting that connection, okay? If you're out here sleeping around, you're getting all these energies, okay? You're getting all these vibes. You're getting all this juju, okay? You're getting all this tack, and the power of juju on you, okay? Because you can't control your lust because you will want to subtract from your plus, okay? And now that's the situation you got yourself into. So that's why it's important. Women out there, that's why it's important. Men out there to have control over your lust, okay? Lust derails people. Lust derails people's purpose. Lust derails people's goals. Lust derails people's missions, okay? Me personally, everyone has something they're interested in. Everyone has a purpose they want to work towards in this life, whatever it is, whether that's a business, whether that's finding their soulmate, whether that's, maybe living in accordance with God, and just staying true to that. Everybody has a goal, okay? Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has something they're trying to achieve, okay? But the temptations is something you don't need. I'm going to say that again. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a goal. Everybody has something they're trying to achieve, but the temptations is something you don't need. Everyone has something they're trying to achieve, but the temptations is one of those things you don't need, okay? The temptations, especially lust, will derail a lot of people, okay? The temptations, especially lust, will derail a lot of people, okay? So you have to have control over that. You have to have some control over that, okay? Because you have to decide where you want to be at. You have to decide where you want to be at. There are some people out there that, yes, they're going to be in a relationship, they're going to be in a marriage, and they're just going to accept the fact that, hey, and I'm talking from the guy's perspective right now, right? There's going to be some guys out there that they're going to be with women. They're going to, be in a marriage or just a relationship, and they're going to be like, you know what? I really love her, and, I'm going to just, because I love her, I'm going to just let her be happy. And when they say that, they're talking about they're going to go let her sleep around. They're going to go let her be with these other men while she's together with you because they really love her. Me personally, that's not what love is to me. I don't understand that. But there's people out here that do that. There's people out here that do that. So if you want to be a person, right, that does not have control over your temptations, that does not have control over your lust, so you end up in a situation like that, then that's you, okay? And if that's what you want, okay, once again, I'm not the person that's going to be out here trying to judge anybody and tell you this is what you need to do. No. But just understand that comes with its own things, okay? That comes with its own things. Okay, but I would recommend people that's not the way to go, okay? You don't want to end up in a relationship, in a marriage where you feel like, because you love this person, they need to be sleeping around. I'll be the first one to tell you right now, no, that's not happening, okay? Me personally, I'm not with that. Me personally, I'm not okay with that. Me personally, if I get one inkling, if I was in a relationship, if you want to go be out there sleeping around, goodbye. Go sleep out there and go sleep around. I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be anything about it. I'm just going to be like, okay, if that's what you want, have a good day. Once again, I'm not going to be mad about it. And there's no issues over here, but I'm going to be like, okay, have a good day. Okay, just like that. So you have to understand, you need to have self-control. You need to have control over your faculties, over lust, because it can put you in a situation you don't need to be in. Okay, lust, all this stuff can put you into situations you don't need to be in if you don't have self-control over stuff that's going to subtract from your plus. I'm going to say that again. Lust can put you into situations you don't need to be in if you do not have control over the things that are going to subtract from your plus, okay? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And once again, there's going to be guys out there that are going to be out here sleeping around. And they're going to be sleeping around with other women that are already in relationships, okay? Or already married. And then that's going to cause destruction for their relationship. And let me say this. Let me actually add this, though, okay? When it comes to people out there that do sleep around with other people in relationships, it's still on them for sleeping with that person who was in a relationship. But just understand, this is why you really need to have self-control, right? That person was going to cheat anyway. That person was going to go sleep around anyway. So just don't be that person that's going to get involved in that. That person was already going to go do that. That person was already going to go give into their temptations. That person was already going to go give into their lust and subtract from their plus with no thought about it, okay? But you just wanted to be the person that was involved in that, okay? You wanted to be, you know, on the front scene, okay? So have self-control. Have control over your faculties, okay? Have control over the temptations. You know, lying, deceit, gluttony, okay? Envy, jealousy, okay? Have control over all that, especially lust. Especially lust. Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people out here that are in relationships, that are in marriages, that are purely based off of lust, okay? They just hit it off on a good note, right? You know? And they were really just lusting after each other, but there was no love. There was no actual care. There was no actually anyone being prepared. There was no, you know, they were just straight off lust. There was no care, and no one was actually prepared, okay? It was straight off of lust. And then people eventually get into their relationships. People eventually get into their marriages, come to find out it was just lust the whole time. Come to find out they didn't actually really like each other at all. There was nothing they really had in common at all. And now they're too deep, okay? They're in this relationship for however many years. They've been just married for however many years, okay? And now they're going to have to figure out how they have to get divorced. They're going to have to figure out how they don't want to be together anymore, but they understand that now the courts are involved, okay? Now there's things that are on the line, so they have to understand that, okay, how can I get out of this relationship while saving a dime, okay? There's things on the line, so now they're trying to figure out how can I get out of this relationship while saving a dime. I'm gonna say that again. There's things on the line, so now they're trying to figure out how they can get out the relationship while saving a dime, okay? So it becomes business. It becomes business now. There's no love. There's no type of care or anything involved at all. Now people are just in a relationship, in a marriage, and they're like in limbo now because they don't actually like each other. They don't actually love each other. There's no desire there. They don't even like sleeping in the same bed together. All that type of stuff. So that's why it's good to have self-control. That's why it's good to have control over your lust, okay? And this is for the people that want to have self-control over lust. This is for the people, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, who want to have control over the temptations, okay? Because there's some people who, they can't do it. I'm going to tell you right now, there's some people out there that can't do it. There's some people out there right now, to find things, you know, find women, walk up to them right now and tell them, let's get it on. They're going, okay? No Marvin Gaye. Like, I'm just telling you right now, if there's two fine women that walk up to somebody right now, then they ask them, hey, let's go do it, they're not going to be able to say no, okay? Me personally, that's not happening. I'm saying it again, me personally, that's not happening because maybe there was a time before. Maybe there was a time before when I didn't have that much self-control, when I didn't have control over my lust like that, you know what I'm saying? I would have been going, but look, times have changed, okay? Times have changed, and for you, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, I urge you to have better self-control, okay? I urge you to have better control over your temptations, especially lust, because let me just say this. Me personally, I have my own focuses, my own goals when it comes to lust and the temptations and trying to do things that don't subtract from my plus and feed the spirit and my soul personally. I have my own personal goals with that, okay? And it may be more, you know, strict than other people, but, okay, I understand for other people out there, I urge you, right? If you're not on that type of timing, look, I'm not saying never sleep with a woman again. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you need to have self-control and understand that you shouldn't be sleeping with everything that breathes, okay, and looks good. That's what I'm trying to tell you, because that's not good. Like, you don't gain anything from that. You're gaining a lot more drama and unnecessary things in your life, and you're also not having any discipline. You're not having any self-control. Once again, I'm not trying to tell everybody out there that needs to be super strict, okay, you know, but you need to have some self-control over your lust and temptations and be able to say no. There's some people that cannot say no. There's some people that, if anything, that looks nice and walks up to them and is like, hey, let's do this today, then they're giving in to their lust. That's going to subtract from their plus, okay? And things that are going to distract them from their mission, things that are going to distract them from their goals, okay? And achieving their own successes in their life, okay? So at the end of the day, it still is a choice. It still is a choice at the end of the day, because guess what? Nobody's promised tomorrow. Nobody's promised tomorrow. That's what makes the choice so interesting. That's what makes the choice such a beautiful thing, because nobody's promised tomorrow. So there's going to be people that are like, you know what? I understand I'm not promised tomorrow, but I'm still not going to give into my temptations. I'm still going to have self-control over this lust. I'm still not going to do things that, give into the lust and subtract from the plus. I'm still going to do things that I can achieve my goals and, add to the spirit and the soul, okay? There's still going to be people that understand tomorrow isn't promised. Tomorrow isn't promised, but I'm going to still be honest, okay? And I'm not about to give into the temptations or give into the lust. And I don't care if, today's the day, the next day's the day. I don't care, because I'm living in accordance and I'm doing what I gotta do. So when it's my last day, there's nothing I regret, okay? There's nothing I'm looking back on like, dang, I shouldn't have slept with this person. Dang, I shouldn't have did this with this person. No, there's people out there that are still gonna do it, okay? But on the other hand, there are people who are gonna be like, hey, YOLO FOMO, you only live once and I'm afraid of missing out. I'm gonna say it again, YOLO FOMO, you only live once and I'm afraid of missing out. So there's gonna be people out there that are like, yeah, tomorrow is not promised, so I'm gonna sleep with this woman. And then the next day comes, tomorrow's not promised, so I'm gonna sleep with this, that, and that, okay? Next thing you know, they done contracted an STI and STD. And before I get into that, let me say this, once again, it's the choice. So there's some people who are gonna say tomorrow's not promised and still choose to be honest. And there's gonna be some people that say tomorrow's not promised and they like, let's get it on, okay? But once again, get back into it. There's gonna be people who understand that tomorrow's not promised, okay? And they're gonna sleep with everybody. Then they're gonna contract STDs and STIs, and now they have all these things, okay? And not just that, that's just one aspect of it, the medical part of it, the physical part of it. That's not even the spiritual aspect of it, the metaphysical part of it, okay? The spiritual, that's not even that part. Now they got all these energies inside of them, okay? Now they got all this juju on them and in them and around them, okay? And guess what? When people start to get those spirits in them and those energies in them, let me tell you something. When people start to get those spirits in them and those energies in them, let me tell you something. It becomes even harder to have control over your temptations, okay? That's one of the main things that can become an issue. When you start contracting all these spirits and energies inside of you, it becomes even harder to have control over your temptations, okay, and over your lust. That's why it becomes a problem. Because now you're out here sleeping with this, that, and that. Now you're way out of range for land cable connection, okay, for high-speed connection, right? Now, you got like 50, 100 plus bodies, okay, 100 plus partners you done been with, okay? And now it's harder for you to have self-control, because now all you're thinking about is coochie, okay? Now all you're thinking about is coochie on a string on a swing, okay? Now all you're thinking about is coochie on a string on a swing, okay? That's all you're thinking about now, is because you are out here just sleeping around. So whenever you have free time, you can't even enjoy the sounds. You can't even just enjoy just existing. You can't even just enjoy doing hobbies you find interesting. I'm gonna say it again. You done had so much coochie and all these energies and all these juju inside of you now. You can't just enjoy being around. You can't just enjoy your energy. You can't just enjoy existing, okay? You can't just enjoy that, okay? Because you've been out here giving into your temptations, giving into your lust, subtracting from your plus, okay, avoiding the goal. So now you're subtracting things from your spirit and your soul. So now you can't focus. It's way harder for you to focus now. That goal you had, the hobbies you enjoyed, it's harder for you to focus, because every time let's say you're a person who has a business, right? All you think about is coochie. All you're thinking about is coochie on a string that's about to swing. That's all you're thinking about. That's all you're thinking about now. You can't focus. Okay, let's say you're a person who like enjoys just basic hobbies. Maybe you read books, okay? Maybe you create books. Maybe you write stories, okay? Maybe you're a person who likes poems and you write stories, okay? Now it's hard for you to write stories because guess what? Coochie. Coochie on a string that's getting ready to swing, okay? And vice versa. Maybe you're a woman out there. Maybe you're a woman out there okay, and now you done been sleeping here, there, and now you're in despair and you can't focus because you were giving into your lust and you were giving into your temptations. So now let's say you're into writing books, okay, let's say you're into maybe you have a clothing line, maybe you like creating clothes and creating designs, okay, maybe you like, you know, certain things with makeup if you're a woman or something, like I don't know, like coochie products, I don't know, but that's what I'm assuming, right? Like if you're a woman, so you might be into those things, right? And now you can't even focus because you've been so focused on dingling, right? You can't focus because you've been so focused on dingling. So now it's the same thing but flipped. It's the same thing as a guy, but now it's flipped though for the women, because now you got all those spirits and energies in you. So now you can't focus and understand what you need to do because you got all those energies, okay? And you got all those spirits. So now you don't understand what's going on. Now all you can think about is dingling, okay? If you're a woman, that's all you can think about is dingling, okay? And now you're out here in drama. Now you're out here in drama, okay? And then look, and then let me tell you something. It goes for the guys too, but for the women especially, look. This is something I didn't understand before. I didn't understand. A lot of these girls, they like the drama, and then they ask why all the trauma. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say it again. A lot of these women out here, they like the drama. Then they ask why all the trauma. I'm gonna say it one more time. A lot of these women out here, they like the drama. Then they ask why all the trauma. Look, you need to understand. You need to be focused, okay? Whatever your goal is, whatever your purpose is, whatever your mission is, and if you don't have that, whatever you just like to do, you need to be focused on that, okay? Because at the end of the day, going back to the guys, going back to the men, at the end of the day, coochie is not everything, okay? For some people, coochie is their entire lives. There have been empires that have been destroyed because of coochie. There have been wars that have been fought over coochie. There have been people who have lost lives over coochie. There have been people, right, who have just got into unnecessary drama and beef over the meat, over coochie meat for nothing, for absolutely no reason. And then guess what? The woman's gonna go and find another man and just completely forget about you. That's the truth. That is the truth, okay? But people ain't ready for that. People ain't ready for that, okay? A lot of men, right? A lot of men out here, they say, don't worry, it's, you know, you're not with her forever, it's just your turn, right? But I don't know if people understand it can go the other way as well. It can go the other way as well. And yes, we can go, the women are more in tune with their emotions. Sure, yeah. Absolutely. But there's women out here too who, the men, it's just the guy's turn and he's gonna be gone eventually and he's gonna have to learn. I'm gonna say it again. There's women out here too who are with a guy and they understand it's just his turn and he's just gonna have to learn, okay? So people just need to be careful, okay? Giving into their temptations, giving into their lusts, subtracting from their plus, okay? Okay, because it just can become something that leads you down certain paths in life, okay? And this depends on the person, okay? Because some people have different goals. Maybe some people's goal is to sleep around and accumulate the absolute most amount of partners, which is absolutely diabolical, and I don't agree with that at all. But there's going to be people out here that is what they want to do. But you have to have self-control. You have to have self-control, okay? And it takes work. It does take work, okay? Nimble minds. How can I have self-control? Nimble minds, the coochie is on a string, and I'm also ready to swing with it. Nimble minds, how am I supposed to listen? Listen. If you are serious about having self-control, if you are serious about maintaining focus, maintaining sight on the goal and the mission, okay? You need to give yourself permission to listen. I'm going to say it again. You need to give yourself permission to listen to the spirit and the soul. In other words, to yourself, okay? In other words, to the Lord, to God, and understand that you can't be given into temptation. You can't be given into lust. So how do you do that? Well, whoever you've been talking to, okay, that woman, okay, that's just, you know, the coochie, right? The coachie's just there, you know, and I just have to sleep with everything that talks and breathes. You got to get rid of that. Can't talk to her no more. Can't have that number anymore because now that's an entrance, okay? Because some people can't do it. Some people, they have certain numbers. They just have to call people. Some people can't do it, okay? You need to let that go, okay? There's some people out here that have been with a woman like for however long ago, and they still every now and then want to talk to them. No, you can't do that, because now you're leaving the temptation open. You're leaving the chance for the lust to get back to you open. And the thing is, the lust is going to come anyway. The urges are going to happen regardless. So you're just going to make it even more powerful if you leave these avenues open. You need to say no, okay? You need to say no, Okay, because let's be honest here, the women out here, they look good. The women out here, they smell good. The women out here, they're voluptuous, have the curves, okay, doing what they need to do. But you still need to have self-control and understand you have to say no. Okay, you need to have self-control and understand you have to say no. Okay, you need to have things that you're focused on, things that eventually you want to achieve in this life. Okay, and be like, I want to do this. And once again, when I say these things, I'm not talking about something that has to be you're changing the world. No, absolutely not. And something, it doesn't have to be something that the next big invention. Absolutely not. It does not have to be something like you're going to be the next big thing in the career field. Absolutely not. But it needs to be something where it's a goal that you're making for yourself, whether you're a man or you're a woman. It needs to be a goal that you're making for yourself. That's, you're like, okay, I can achieve this, but it's going to take me actually, not giving into temptations, not giving into lust is going to subtract from my plus. It's going to take me not being out here gossiping. It's going to take me not being out here capping, to lying. And the main thing is, don't lie to yourself. It's going to be out here taking you not to lie to yourself, okay? It's going to be out here taking you not to gossip about others, because the truth is, look, when you point fingers at other people, look, I was told this, okay? Shout out to my parents. Shout out to my mother. I was told this, okay? When you start pointing fingers at other people, you got 3 fingers pointing right back at you. So if you're pointing fingers at other people, you have fingers pointing right back at you, okay? So once again, if you're pointing fingers at other people, you have fingers pointing right back at you. If you're pointing fingers at other people, you have fingers pointing right back at you, okay? And whatever you're pointing your finger at, you better be saying something positive, because the person you're pointing that finger at and the things that you're saying about that person are literally being pointed and directed right back at you, okay? So if you're a person who's out here gossiping and you're out here lying about other people, you're telling on yourself. If you're a person who's out here giving into jealousy and envy and gluttony, and you're trying to point fingers, you're telling on yourself, okay? That's why I really advocate for you to be the person in the mirror. Point at yourself. Hold yourself accountable. Start pointing the finger at you, okay? And being like, you know what? Is there things in life that I can't control? Yes. Are there things that may happen that are not going to be the best? Okay, it may put me in a certain kind of mood. Yes. But at the end of the day, there are things that you have more control over that in society they want to make you believe you don't. So you need to start pointing the finger at yourself in the mirror and understand that, hey, okay, if I want to get help, I need to be the first thing, first line of defense. I need to be the first help that there is, okay? If I want to achieve this goal, if I don't want to give into lust that's going to subtract from my plus and give into these temptations, I need to be the first line of defense, okay? I need to do stuff that's going to make sure I can achieve my goals, okay? And make sure that it adds and doesn't subtract to my spirit or my soul, okay? And you need to start pointing that finger at the mirror, okay? And you need to start telling yourself the truth and stop lying to yourself, okay? You need to point in the mirror and be like, look, I may have struggled with these temptations, okay? I may still struggle with these temptations, okay? I may still struggle with lust, and things are going to subtract from my plus, but at the end of the day, I understand now it's on me. I understand that there's things I have to do, things I have to see in order to be the person that I want to be, okay? I have to understand that there's things that I have to change. Okay, and people ain't gonna do it for you. Okay, people are not gonna do it for you. Are there gonna be people that want to lend a hand? Sure. Are there gonna be people that want to help? Sure. Okay, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to withstand the quicksand. I'm gonna say it again. You're gonna have to withstand the quicksand and understand that. Listen. You're gonna have to have that type of self-control. Okay, you're gonna have to have that type of wherewithal for yourself, so you don't give into the lust that's gonna subtract from your plus. Okay, because let's talk about it. You can end up in situations you don't need to be in. You can end up in situations you don't need to be in. That's why it's good to hold yourself accountable, okay? Because the sooner you hold yourself accountable, the sooner you're not going to have baby mama drama. The sooner you hold yourself accountable, the sooner you're going to be able to save yourself before it's too late. And now you had a child with this woman that you didn't have any business even being with, and now you're just about the child into a situation that's not even beneficial, okay? The sooner you have self-control, the sooner you're not going to be out here messing up other people's relationships, and now you're involved in drama you don't need to be in. The sooner you have self-control, the sooner you can focus on your goals, okay, and not be focused on what other people have going on all the time. The sooner you have self-control and you start holding yourself accountable is the time that you can be happy, is the time that you can actually find peace, okay? Because let's talk about it. There's people out here that want to be happy, want to find peace. I was one of those people, but I didn't start achieving any of that until I started looking in the mirror, pointing at myself, holding myself accountable. Like, listen, dude. Listen, guy. Listen, man. Listen, dude. It's on you. Listen, dude. It's on you, bro. Like, until nothing changed for me until I started doing that. Then I had better control over the temptations. Then I could handle the lust better. Currently, I'm still going strong, okay? Then I was able to do that because I wasn't trying to blame anybody else but myself. I'm going to say it again. I wasn't trying to blame anybody else but myself, okay? Okay, so now the people out there that want to have peace and happiness, okay, the sooner you start doing that, the better. Because the sooner you start doing that, the sooner you won't have children. The sooner you won't be in relationships that you have no business being in. The sooner you can avoid baby mama drama. The sooner you can avoid gossiping. The sooner you can avoid lying, giving into gluttony, jealousy, envy, deceit, okay. The sooner you start doing that, the better. Okay, and once again, this is not to say that in life things are not going to happen that can bring you down into that mood, okay? This is not saying that at all. This is just adding another layer. This is just adding another, I would say, ability for yourself. And it's a skill that is useful, okay? It's not going to solve everything, obviously not. But it can help you understand the areas in your life where you do have control over, where you can say, wait a minute, I don't have to give into this lust, where you can say, wait a minute, I don't have to give into things that are going to subtract from my plus, where you can say, wait a minute, I don't have to give into these temptations, where you can say, wait a minute, this person, right, I don't think they're being truthful. I don't think they're being honest. I think they're just lusting right now. So you're going to say no. So it's going to give you that ability. It's going to give you the ability when you get in a certain situation, you're going to be like, wait, I don't have to do this, okay? Because then you understand what's on the line, your peace. Then you understand what's on the line, your happiness. Then you understand what's on the line, your own self-control. Because let me tell you something, when you're in a relationship, when you get married, look, you can try to say anything you want, but the truth is, okay, and this is coming from a young guy, 23 years old, I'm not married, okay, and I don't have any plans to get married or have any children, but I'm just talking from my own personal experience, right? That's going to come to a point, right, where if you do get in a relationship and you do end up getting married, okay, and you end up having children, it's not going to matter. Because let me tell you something. It's not going to matter, because let me tell you something. If you have a child, it's not about you anymore. People can argue and say what they want and try to, listen. When you have a child, it's not about you anymore. When you have children, it is not about you anymore. Your life is over. It's about the child now. Okay, that's extreme. That's extreme. Your life is not literally over, but when you have a child, there's going to be so much time that needs to be given to this child. When you have a child, there's going to be so much attention, okay, and nurturing that needs to be given to this child, okay, that when you have this child, you're going to understand that there's going to be things that have to change. And that's just natural. That's not a bad thing. It's just part of being a mother. It's a part of being a father. It's a part of being in a couple, a relationship together. This child is going to take resources. This child is going to take time, attention to help nurture and help it grow, okay? And to help turn it into the soul that is going to be, the best for whatever goals that the child is going to have, okay? So when you have children, that is what's happening. That's why I urge people to really think twice. Okay, a lot of people say, no, you got to be all in. I'm not that guy. I'm going to be the person that comes up out of nowhere and is like, listen, think again, think twice. Okay, you should probably think about this. That's me, right? If I was some kind of genie, some kind of angel on somebody's shoulder, that's how I would be talking. I'd be the person out of nowhere where you think you're about to do this. I'm like, listen, my friend, think again. My friend, think again. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad decision, but just think about it again before you get into this, okay? Because you don't know where this could lead. You don't know where this could end. My friend, think again, because you don't know where this could lead. You don't know where this could end, okay? Once again, if you want to have children, I'm going to be the person out of nowhere. Let's think about this. You want to get married, I'm going to be the person out of nowhere. Let's think about this. You want to start getting into relationships. You want to start sleeping around, get me into your lust and your temptations. I'm going to pop up out of nowhere. Let's think about this, okay? Because we don't know where this could go. We don't know where this could end, okay? Are you sure you want a child? Are you sure you want to get married? Are you sure you really want these relationships? Are you sure you really want to be out here doing all this, okay? Are you sure you want to end up in situations where you don't really have time for yourself anymore? Are you sure you're really in these situations now where you don't have any peace of mind because you were out here trying to bump and grind with these women, okay? Are you sure you don't want to have your peace of mind anymore? Are you sure you want to do that? Like, I'm the person that's going to advocate for you to think again. Give it another thought. Because a lot of times people get into situations where the entire time it was really society that was guiding them. It was really things, outside people that guided them to feel like they needed to have a relationship to be as special and important, to actually have value. There's people who believe they need to have children in order to hold some type of value. There's people who actually believe that. And it has led them into situations where now that's the only thing they can see. That's their only type of reality because they believe that. And now look, it gets to a point where When you believe something so long, and not even that, you just live a certain type of way, right? It becomes like your way of life. So people who start to believe, I need to have I need to have a child in order to feel special or important, that's where they're going to end up. But is that really what they wanted deep down? It's unfortunate because some people, they realize that after the fact. They realize that, hey, nimble minds, nimble minds. What do you mean people realize that after the fact? Nimble minds, nimble minds. What are you talking about that some people out here have this realization after they have a family? They already had a family. I thought that's what they wanted, nimble minds. Look, that's an amazing question. I'm glad you asked that, smart guy. Listen, there's people out here that they get into a relationship, they get into marriages, right? Because they believe that's what they needed to do to have some type of value, some type of importance. They were peer pressured or FP pressured into it, family pressured into it, because they believe that's what they needed to do. So now they're out here. With a family, with children, and at the end of the day, that's not actually what they wanted. At the end of the day, that was not actually what their purpose was, why they're even put here, on this earth to begin with. They end up having children, and they weren't ready. They end up in a marriage, and they weren't ready. They end up in a relationship, and they weren't ready. Okay, they end up in all these situations because at the end of the day, they just jumped into it. They didn't have somebody to tell them think twice. They didn't have anybody to tell them just think about it. Just do some quick research. It ain't got to be a whole book report or anything. Just do some quick research on it before you get into it. Because once again, one of the most valuable things you'll have in life is your time. One of the most valuable things you'll have in life is your time. That's one of the most valuable things you'll have in life. And it's just the fact that you can have your times what makes it important. You don't have to do anything the entire day, but you had the time to make that choice to not do anything. That's valuable. You could do everything in a day. You could go here, here, and there, travel here, here, and there. But you had the time to be able to make that decision to do those things with your time. That's what makes it so valuable. So are you going to put yourself in a situation where you're married and now you don't even have a choice? Are you going to put yourself in a situation where you're in a relationship, you have children, so now you actually don't even really have a choice, okay? Are you going to do that? Are you going to do that? Because once again, great question for the person that asked it. At the end of the day, it's going to get to a point where these are the things you're going to have to face, okay? These are the things you're going to have to face, okay? Fortunately for me, I was able to realize this before I went out here and had a family, before I went out here and got into maybe buying a house, okay? And there's people out here that can actually afford a house, okay? I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying it. I don't got house money, okay? But I could have gotten to a situation where I took out, Lord knows, however many loans, right, to try to get a house. Next, I'm going to be paying on that into perpetuity until I'm not breathing anymore. And then my soul is out there bro, why? So I'm blessed and I'm grateful I didn't get up and wind up in that stress, okay? I'm grateful and blessed that I didn't end up with that stress, okay? I didn't go out here and do that. Get into some crazy loan, get into a house. I didn't do that. I didn't go out here and have children, okay, before I realized, wait a minute, that's not for me. I didn't go out here and get married before I realized, hold up, that's not for me. I didn't go out here and get into relationships and go sleep around and contract STDs and STIs, and it was too late before I realized, wait a minute, this isn't even for me. This isn't even stuff I actually enjoy or want to do, okay? So I urge whoever's watching, whoever's listening to, understand what you actually want out of life. That's what I'm going to advocate for, and that's what I believe people should do. Understand what they want out of life first before they go making decisions and making these, different decisions that could last for the rest of your life, okay? And one of the biggest things people will do is a family. That's one of the biggest things. No matter how many things change, no matter what type of new technology comes up or whatever happens since the beginning of time, one of the biggest things that people will have to choose is whether or not what they want to do with their time. That's the biggest thing. Since the beginning of time, what do you want to do with your time, okay? And do you want to have a family? That's a big one, okay? And so a lot of these things are better to think about it, to really give it thought before just going out here and just having a family because you believe that's the thing to do, okay? And at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do, hey, go for it. Go for it. If that's going to make you happy and bring you the joy you believe you need out of this life, go for it. But I urge people to think, give it another thought. Just give it another thought, okay? Because it's not always what it seems. It's not, some of these decisions are not always what they seem, okay? A lot of people are tricked, yes, tricked into these situations, and then it's too late. You already have the child on the way. You already have the child here. You can't go back. You can't go back. Your time is not yours like that. You can't go back. Your time is not yours like that. You cannot go back no matter what you do, no matter what you think you're doing, no matter what you think you're changing. You already have the child. You can't go back. So if you understand the weight of that decision, these are things you should think about. These are things that you should be giving a lot of thought to, okay? Because you don't want to end up in that situation. I'm telling you, you do not want to end up in a situation where you're going to have to be asking yourself these different questions and it's already too late because you're asking yourself these questions, but the child is already here. You're asking yourself these questions, but you're already in a relationship. You're asking yourself these questions, but you're already in this situation because you didn't give it any thought. You're asking yourself these questions, but you're already deep into debt with this house because you believe this is what you needed to do. You're asking yourself these questions, but you're already in all this gossip and all this drama because you wanted to go hang out with this group. You're asking yourself these questions, right? But it's too late because now your time isn't your time anymore because of what you have already given it to, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up this video here. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. I'm going to touch on a few more things and then, it'll be the end of the video. And one of those things is that, once again, you have to decide where you want to be, and that stuff takes time, okay? Once again, that stuff takes time. That's why it's unfortunate, but from a young age, sometimes people make these decisions at young ages, and that's just because of societal pressure, even family pressure, having them believe this was the right thing to do, okay? And that's why I urge people, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, okay, especially if you're younger, and not only if you're younger, maybe you're a little older, okay, but my emphasis is that however old you are, okay, if you have not, I'm going to repeat, however old you are, whether you're younger, okay, teenager, or you're older adult, however young you are, if you have not already got yourself into a crazy situation financially, if you have not already got yourself into, especially with the temptations, lust, okay, especially with lust, if you are at an age, whether you're younger or you're older, okay, because once again, I'm a younger guy, 23. So if you're younger, like you're 18, if you're older, maybe you're 40, maybe you're 50. If you're a person who has not gotten yourself into this situation with lust and you've had some self-control, or you've just been blessed to not have no children out here, or you've just been blessed to, maybe you slept around, but you still don't have children, okay, you still, by the grace of God, are not involved in all types of drama with these married women, okay, you're still, by the grace of God, still have your time to make the decision for what you want to do with it, then I urge you to keep it that way. I urge you to understand that that is a blessing, that is a gift, okay, and most people give it away, and it's too late. Most people just give it away before they understand what they really had, okay? So if you're a person, whether you're younger or older, that's all I urge you to do, is to just actually think about it. Because at the end of the day, there's people who are going to think about it and they go decide to have a family. That's amazing. There's going to be people who think about it and they go decide to get in that relationship and get married. That's amazing. There's going to be people out here that go think about it and they still go buy that house. Guess what? That's amazing. But on the other side of that, there's going to be people who finally think about it. There's going to be people who finally give it a thought. And they're going to go like, you know what? I thought about it. And you know what? I'm not gonna have a family. There's people that are gonna think about it and be like, you know what? I actually don't want children. There's people that are gonna think about it and be like, you know what? I actually don't want to get married. There's gonna be people who think about it and go, you know what? I don't want a relationship. There's gonna be people who think about it and like, you know what? I don't want to get into this financial debt. There's gonna be people who think about it and go like, you know what? I actually do enjoy my time in this peace. There's gonna be people who actually give it thought and think about it and go, you know what? I'm glad I actually thought about it, and that is the whole point. There's going to be people who are just going to be happy that they actually took time to themselves to go sit down and think about it so they could actually make a decision, and that's what I'm urging you to do. That's what I'm urging you to do, okay? So once again, I'm going to be wrapping this up. When it comes to the temptations, okay, the reason I'm even able to talk about these things, the reason I'm even able to talk about these different topics, okay, and the different situations that people have been in, that people will get into, okay, and that people will give it some thought and then prevent it from even happening, right? The reason I'm even able to talk about this is because what? Of lust, and because what? people do give into their temptations, okay? That's why these are even the conversations that are even to be had. If temptations were easy and everybody was just like, look, these temptations, I got them in a chokehold. They know better than to come over here. Like that lust, it can't affect me. If it was really that easy, we wouldn't be having these conversations. These conversations would be necessary, but I'm telling you right now, it's out here happening. There's people out here cheating on somebody they said they loved. There's people out here abandoning children that they were sent from above. There's people out here that are regretting their relationship, regretting their marriage, okay, and would rather be with another man, would rather be with another woman, okay. There's people out here who are doing these things because they just didn't give it a second thought, okay, and they don't have control over the temptations, over their lust, okay, and that is the point. So I urge you, have control over your temptations. I urge you, do things that are going to feed your spirit, that are going to feed your soul, okay? That are going to please God. I urge you to do the right thing. I urge you, okay, to, if you're not in these situations, because that's a big thing right there. That is one of the biggest things. If you're not in these situations yet, I urge you to don't do it. Yet the yet be yet, okay? Yet, let the yet be yet, okay? I'm going to say it again. Let the yet be yet. Let the yet stay a yet. If you're not there yet, you better go freeze that yet and just leave it frozen, okay? Don't let the yet ever accumulate into anything like now, okay? If you're not there yet, then guess what? It's a yet, okay? And you ain't got to worry about it, so keep it right there, okay? That's what I urge, okay? So, with that being said, I hope that whoever's watching, whoever's listening, this was one of the longer videos. I'm not gonna lie, this was a longer video. If you're whoever's watching, whoever's listening, I hope you could take something from this conversation, okay, from this video, and you could apply it to your life that results in a positive change, that results in positive outcomes. I really do. I really do. Okay, with that being said, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.